Welcome back, children. We will move on to the next topic of the chapter, that is elasticity of demand. What is meant by this elasticity of demand? Elasticity of demand is the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded of a commodity due to a change in any of the factors affecting the demand of a commodity. You have learned about different factors which affect the demand for a commodity. Which are the different factors that affect the demand for a commodity? Price of a given commodity, prices of related goods such as substitutes, complementary goods, then season, weather changes, taste and preference. All these are the different factors which affect the demand for a commodity. So, depending on the changes of these factors, how do you respond to the quantity demanded? That is known as elasticity of demand. So, elasticity of demand shows the degree of your responsiveness to a quantity demanded, to a change in different factors. What all factors are affecting the demand? According to the change in all these factors, how do you respond? So, your degree of responsiveness to the change of all those factors is known as the elasticity of demand. So, once again, the definition of elasticity of demand is degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded of a commodity to a change in different factors which influencing the demand. So, how do you respond to the quantity of a commodity due to a change in the factors affecting the demand? So, it shows a degree of responsiveness. How do you respond to the change in the quantity of a commodity? Now, there are three types of elasticity. One is price elasticity of demand. Second is cross elasticity of demand. Third one is income elasticity of demand. So, mainly there are three types of elasticity of demand: price elasticity of demand, cross elasticity of demand, and income elasticity of demand. What is this price elasticity of demand? From this definition which we have written for elasticity of demand, we can define price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand is the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded of a commodity due to a change in the price of the given commodity. So, the first few lines we will be writing the same as which we have written for the elasticity of demand. Then towards the end you have to add the word change in the price of the given commodity. So, when the price of the given commodity changes, what is your degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded? For example, price of a commodity, say for toothpaste, when the price of the toothpaste increases, demand decreases, or when the price of the toothpaste decreases, demand increases. That is inverse relationship between demand and price, which we have learned in law of demand. So, when the price of this commodity changes, how will you change the quantity? What is your degree of responsiveness to the change in the price of the commodity? How will you respond to the quantity of that commodity when its price changes? That is known as price elasticity of demand. So, how will you define price elasticity of demand? Degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded of a commodity due to a change in the prices of the given commodity. Now, we will define what is cross elasticity of demand. What is cross elasticity of demand? The same definition you can write: degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded of a commodity due to a change in the price of related goods. So, how will you write? Degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded of a commodity due to a change in the prices of related goods. When the prices of substitutes and complementary goods changes, how will you respond to the quantity demanded of a commodity? That is known as cross elasticity of demand. Your degree of responsiveness to a quantity demanded of a commodity when the prices of the related good changes. That is known as cross elasticity of demand. The next one is income elasticity of demand. So, how will you write down income elasticity of demand? Again, go back to the definition: degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded of a commodity due to a change in the income of the consumer. So, when the income of the consumer changes, what is his degree of responsiveness to the quantity demanded of a commodity? How will he react to the quantity demanded of a commodity when his income changes? That is known as income elasticity of demand. So, income elasticity of demand is degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded of a commodity due to a change in the income of the consumer. So, when the income of the consumer increases or decreases, what is the responsiveness? What is the degree of responsiveness of the consumer to a change in the quantity? So, there are three types of elasticity of demand, and you will be concentrating only on price elasticity of demand in class 11. Now, regarding the price elasticity of demand, I told you will be concentrating only on the price elasticity of demand, and mainly we have to learn 5 degrees of price elasticity of demand. Now, let us see which are the 5 degrees of price elasticity of demand. So, you know what is a price elasticity of demand? Degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded of a commodity due to a change in the price of the given commodity. When the price of the given commodity changes, how the consumer is responding, what is his degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded, whether he will demand more or less when the price increases or decreases. There are 5 degrees of price elasticity of demand. The first one is perfectly elastic demand. What is meant by perfectly elastic demand? Demand is said to be perfectly elastic when the quantity demanded keep on changing at a fixed price. Price will be fixed, but quantity demanded can be infinite. That kind of a response is known as perfectly elastic demand. Now, with an example, the concept is very clear to you, will be very clear to you. Here I have given the price and the quantity. Price is 10 itself, but the quantity demanded varies from 100 to 300, and it can go infinity also. Now, I have drawn the diagram here for you, where quantity is marked on the x-axis and price is marked on the y-axis. Now, this is the price 10 and the quantity demanded is 100, 200, 300, 400. It goes like this. This is the demand curve here. So, this is known as elasticity equal to infinity. That means any quantity can be purchased at a fixed price. Sometimes this is an imaginary situation. It will not happen always. Quantity going on infinity at the same price. So, this is known as perfectly elastic demand. So, demand can be infinite at a particular price, that is known as perfectly elastic demand, the first degree of price elasticity of demand. So, what is first one? Perfectly elastic demand is said to be perfectly elastic when the quantity demanded keep on changing at a fixed price. It can be infinite also. Elasticity of demand is equal to infinity. Okay. Now we will move on to, so in such a situation demand curve will be parallel to x-axis. This is a demand curve which we have drawn and that is parallel to x-axis. So, elasticity of demand is equal to infinity, in which demand curve will be parallel to the x-axis. Next is perfectly inelastic demand. So, perfectly elastic demand, perfectly inelastic demand. Demand is said to be perfectly inelastic when the quantity demanded remains to be the same with the change in the price. In the previous one, quantity was keeping on changing, price was fixed. But here, price is keeping on changing, but the quantity is fixed. Let us see the example. Price is keeping on changing 20, 30, 40. At 20, quantity demanded is 100. At 30, quantity demanded is 100. At 40, quantity demanded is 100. There are certain commodities like that. Even if its price changes, the quantity that we need is only the same. For example, salt. So we will not keep more and more salt with us when the price changes or when the price falls. As per the law of demand, when the price falls, demand should increase, isn't it? So for certain cases, we keep the quantity to be constant even if its price increases or decreases. That kind of an elasticity is known as perfectly inelastic demand. So what is perfectly inelastic demand? Demand is said to be perfectly inelastic when the quantity remains to be the same with a rise or fall in the price. So in such a case, this is a demand curve, isn't it? Elasticity of a demand is equal to 0 because quantity remains to be the same itself. Therefore, elasticity of demand is equal to 0. So here the demand curve is parallel to y-axis. Previously it was parallel to x-axis, but here it is parallel to y-axis. Okay, so 2 degrees you have learned. The next degree of price elasticity of demand is unitary elastic demand. So from the name itself it is very clear to you, unitary elastic, where elasticity of demand is equal to 1. So far you have learned elasticity of demand is equal to infinitely perfectly elastic. Elasticity of demand is equal to 0, perfectly inelastic. Third one is unitary elastic demand, where elasticity of demand is equal to 1. What is unitary elastic demand? Demand is said to be unitary elastic when a proportionate change in the price leads to proportionate change in the quantity demanded. Whatever change in the price, the same change in the quantity demanded is also experienced. That is known as unitary elastic demand. Just to see the example which I have framed for you. Price is 5, 10 and 15. At price 5, quantity demanded is 200. At price 10, quantity demanded falls to 150 because price has increased from 5 to 10. Therefore, quantity has decreased from 200 to 150. Again, price has increased from 10 to 15. Therefore, quantity has come down from 150 to 100 as per the law of demand. I have depicted the same here. At 15 the quantity is 100, 200. At 5 the quantity is 200. At 10 the quantity is 150. At 15 the quantity has come down to 100. See, whatever change is there in the price, the same unitary change can happen in quantity also. 100 to 150, 150 to 200 with a difference of 50. Here with a difference of 5. That kind of an elasticity is known as unitary elastic. So here you can find when I join these points, you will get the demand curve. Here elasticity of demand is equal to 1, unitary elastic. Then comes the next one, highly elastic demand or more elastic demand or elastic demand. So it is known as highly elastic demand or elastic demand or more elastic demand. Now, demand is said to be highly elastic when the proportionate change in the price leads to more than proportionate change in the quantity demanded. Here, the consumer is very sensitive. Only a small change in the price happens in the market. Only a small reduction in the price, but he is very sensitive. He buys more and more quantity of that commodity. So highly elastic demand means consumer is very sensitive. When the price comes down by a bit, he buys more and more. Let us see the example for that. Price is 20 and the quantity demanded was 100. But when the price falls from 20 to 10 with a 10 rupees change, a difference, he is buying 300 quantities more. That means now at present he is buying 400. So when the price has come down from 20 to 10, the consumer has increased his purchase from 100 to 400. Very sensitive he is. The same I have depicted here in the diagram where quantity is marked on the x-axis, price is marked on the y-axis. See, at 10, the amount he has purchased is 400, and at 20, his amount was only 100. So this is highly elastic demand curve. You can see the shape of the demand curve. Just analyze unitary elastic demand curve and the highly elastic demand curve. So here we can write elasticity of demand greater than 1, where consumer is very, very sensitive. With a small change in the price, he is buying more and more. Now next one, the last degree, less elastic demand or inelastic demand, also known as inelastic demand. What is that? Just opposite of what has happened for highly elastic demand. Demand is said to be less elastic when proportionate change in the price leads to less than proportionate change in the quantity demanded. So here just opposite happens. Consumer is not at all sensitive. The price has come down like anything, but he is buying only a bit of difference is happening there. He has increased his quantity only by a bit. Price has come down in a good manner, but his quantity increases only by a bit. He is not that sensitive. That kind of an elasticity is known as inelastic demand or less elastic demand. Let us see the example. Price is 20 and there he has purchased 100 kilograms. Now price has come down from 20 to 10, but he has purchased only 150. A sensitive consumer should purchase 500 or 400, but he has purchased only 150. He is not that bothered about the reduction in the price. There are consumers like that. I have depicted the same in the diagram. Here you can find at rupees 10, he is buying 150. At rupees 200, at rupees 20, his purchase is 100. But when the price falls from 20 to 10, with that difference, he has increased his purchase only from 100 to 150. See his demand curve like this. So consumer is not at all sensitive here. Such a situation we can say elasticity is lesser than 1. This is what is known as less elastic demand. So there are 5 degrees of elasticity of demand. First one is perfectly elastic. Demand is infinite, price remains to be the same. Next is where demand curve is parallel to the x-axis. Second one, perfectly inelastic demand curve where quantity remains to be the same at different prices. Demand curve is parallel to y-axis, elasticity is equal to 0. Unitary elastic demand, proportionate change in the price leads to proportionate change in the quantity demanded. Elasticity of demand is equal to 1. Highly elastic demand. Demand is said to be highly elastic when proportionate change in the price leads to more than proportionate change in the quantity demanded. Consumer is very sensitive. With a small fall in the price, he is buying more and more. Elasticity of demand greater than 1. Last one is the inelastic demand or less elastic demand, where the demand is said to be less elastic or inelastic when a proportionate change in the price leads to less than proportionate change in the quantity demanded. Consumer is not at all sensitive. Even with a fall in the price, he has increased his quantity only by a bit, where elasticity of demand is less than 1. So these are the 5 degrees of elasticity. Now we will move on to the methods of calculating price elasticity of demand. We learned about the types of elasticity of demand, then we learned about the degrees of price elasticity of demand. I told you among the 3 elasticities of demand, we will be concentrating only on price elasticity of demand. Now let us see what are the methods of calculating the price elasticity of demand. Mainly 2 methods are used. 3 methods are used to calculate, but you have to learn only 2 methods. The 3 methods are percentage, total expenditure method and point method. Total expenditure method is not there in your syllabus. You have to learn only percentage method and point method. Now the first method of calculating the price elasticity of demand. Percentage method. Now in percentage method, we have two formula. The first one is elasticity of demand is equal to percentage change in the quantity demanded by percentage change in the price. This is the first formula that we have to use. So there are three methods of calculating price elasticity of demand. First one is percentage method, second one is total expenditure method, third one is point method. Total expenditure method is not there in your syllabus. You need to learn only percentage method and point method. Now in percentage method, we use two formula. The first one is elasticity of demand is equal to percentage change in the quantity demanded by percentage change in the price. Second formula is elasticity of demand is equal to delta Q by delta P into P by Q. This is the second formula. So depending on the nature of the problem that you have to solve, you will be using these two formulas in a different manner. Okay. So this is with regard to percentage method. So in percentage method, and this is also known as proportionate method. The second formula is proportionate method. Percentage method and proportionate method. Okay. Now here next is point method. Second method is point method, which is also known as Flux's method because it was introduced by an economist known as Flux. It is also known as geometric method. So this is the next method of calculating price elasticity of demand. Point method or Flux's method or geometric method. How it got Flux's method? It is found by an economist known as Flux. Now what is the formula for a point method? Elasticity of demand is equal to lower segment by upper segment. It is a geometric method. So we will be drawing the demand curve. On the basis of that, we will be analyzing the 5 degrees of elasticity. That kind of a method is known as geometric method, and the formula which we use here is lower segment by upper segment. Let us see what is it. Now this is the demand curve which I have drawn for you. Now quantity is marked on the x-axis and price is marked on the y-axis. So 5 degrees are here. Elasticity equal to 1, elasticity less than 1, elasticity equal to 0, elasticity greater than 1, elasticity is equal to infinity, which is perfectly elastic, more elastic, unitary elastic, less elastic and perfectly inelastic. All the 5 degrees that you have learned is depicted here. Now let us see the first one with the formula lower segment by upper segment. Now this is the formula lower segment by upper segment which we use for geometric method. Now let us first measure. This is a demand curve which I have drawn. Take point B. Let us take point B first. How will you find out elasticity at point B? Elasticity of demand at point B. How will you find out? Lower segment by upper segment. How will you measure lower segment? From point B to the lower segment is BD. From point B to E is upper segment. So lower segment by upper segment means BD by EB. BD by EB. This is known as lower segment by upper segment. There we can find both these are the same measurement. From BD and from B to D and from B to E we have the same measurement. Therefore elasticity is equal to 1. Therefore we can write BD is equal to ED. Next, at point A, what is elasticity of demand? How will you measure lower segment by upper segment? Lower segment is AD and upper segment is AE. AD by AE. There you can find AD is greater than AE. So lower segment is greater than upper segment. Therefore we can write elasticity greater than 1. That is why I have written here as elasticity greater than 1. Next, at point C. How will you find out lower segment by upper segment? CD is the lower segment and C E is the upper segment. CE is the upper segment. So CD by CE is CD by EC or CE, where CD is lesser than CE. Therefore, we can say elasticity is less than 1. Again, at point E, lower segment by upper segment means what? ED by 0, because at point E nothing to measure, isn't it? So ED by 0. So any number divided by 0 will give you elasticity of demand equal to infinity. So at point E I have written elasticity of demand equal to infinity. Next, at point D, lower segment by upper segment. What is lower segment? 0 itself. Divided by upper segment. What is upper segment? DE. So 0 by ED will give you elasticity of demand. 0 by any number will give you elasticity of demand is equal to 0. Okay, so 5 degrees I have represented here. At point B, elasticity is equal to 1. At point E, elasticity greater than 1. At point E, elasticity is equal to infinity. At point C, less than 1. At point D, elasticity is equal to 0. Because at point D, lower segment by upper segment means what? 0 by DE. So 0 by any number will give you as 0. So elasticity of demand is equal to 0. Thus we have framed out all the 5 degrees of elasticity using a demand curve by a graph, that is known as geometric method. So we have learned types of elasticity of demand, then 5 degrees of elasticity of demand with example and the diagram. Then you have learned methods of calculating the price elasticity of demand. So I hope it is clear to you. Learn the formula and the diagram. Thank you.